There's a certain calm that follows him, a stillness that feels like he's floating just beneath the surface of the noise the rest of the world is swimming in. Some call it mystery. Others say it's presence. But when Cillian Murphy speaks, people lean in, because he doesn't often say much. And when he does, it's for a reason. So when he was asked gently, curiously, if he felt FOMO, fear of missing out about the Odyssey, a role he didn't take, a film crafted by director Homeric, in ambition and cast almost like a myth itself, many expected the usual. Response, regret, deflection. A politician's smile, but they didn't. Get that, they got something far more unexpected. They got peace. But before we get to what he said and why it struck such a chord, let's take a step back, because the Odyssey isn't just another epic adaptation of an ancient tale. It's bold, towering, the kind of project whispered about in halls of modern myth-making, with production spanning continents and a cast that reads like a who's who of award-season darlings. The casting sent shockwaves when it broke, and fans couldn't help but imagine another name on that list. Cillian Murphy, a man known for disappearing completely into his roles, who seems born to walk between myth and madness. A modern-day Odysseus. Some said stoic, weathered, haunted, capable of anchoring a story that's really about finding your way back to yourself. The fancasts began. The forums buzzed. People felt it, wanted it. So when Cillian was asked months later in the warm corner of a quiet interview with a mug of black coffee in his hand and cloudy Dublin light spilling across his face, "Did you ever feel FOMO about turning down the Odyssey?" He paused. He always pauses, not to perform the pause, but to feel it. Then he looked at the interviewer, not with defensiveness, but with the kind of clarity that comes with knowing exactly who you are, and what he said was this: "No, just that." At first, no, not a hint of discomfort. No shift in his chair. No bitterness. Just certainty. And then, after a beat, "You can't miss something that's not yours. That's not how I carry things." Let that sit for a moment. Because in an era where actors chase every franchise, every prestige collaboration, every potential headline, Cillian Murphy just let it go. No chasing, no envy, no hunger for something he wasn't meant to hold. This wasn't dismissal. It was detachment in the most mindful, liberating way. He continued, voice low and even. "Stories like that, they're enormous, timeless. You don't own them. You either serve them or you don't. And in this case, someone else was meant to." And just like that, he transformed the question of FOMO, fear of missing out, into something wiser. Fearless, almost ancient. The irony struck like poetry. He may not be in the Odyssey, but he's already living one. A man walking through life quietly, reshaping everything he touches while remaining immune to the fame that tries to possess him. He doesn't take roles to stake flags in sand. He takes them to tell the truth of the moment. And if the moment doesn't call him in, he's okay watching the waves roll by in many ways. That's what separates Cillian from just about every A-list name today. Not talent. There are plenty with talent, not looks. Hollywood has never been short on beautiful faces. It's his ability to refuse validation from roles, from expectations, from what could have been. There's a scene in Oppenheimer, just a quick glance where his character stares downward, at nothing, at everything. You don't need dialogue. You just know he's grieving. A life that might have been different. That's the power of an actor who doesn't chase everything. He lets silence do the heavy lifting. Maybe that's what makes his FOMO response so meaningful. Because it wasn't just about the Odyssey, it was about all of it. The missed opportunities, the calls that came too late, the screen tests that never turned into contracts, the dreams handed to someone else, and the quiet act of wishing them well. There's maturity in that, a kind you earn through choices that don't always make headlines, but etch something far deeper into your soul. In another part of that same interview, he reflected on how he chooses roles now. I just ask myself, does this scare me a little? If it doesn't, I let it pass. Fear is usually the sign there's something real in it for me, not fear of missing out, fear of meaning. That's what he chases, and he's not interested in stealing the fire from another man's myth. He doesn't need to be Odysseus to understand the journey, because Cillian Murphy has fought his own wars inside and out. He's wandered. He's questioned. He's played men torn apart by their own minds and men trying to hold on to fragments of their past. He's known the weight of empires, both fictional and lived. And unlike Odysseus, he doesn't crave the throne at the end of the journey. He craves the truth inside the walking, so no Cillian Murphy doesn't feel FOMO because he doesn't view roles as opportunities lost. He sees them as tides that either arrive on your shore or return to sea. And when the Odyssey returned to sea, he stood on his own beach, hands in pockets, wind brushing over as he whispered, "Bon voyage." And that is why people are drawn to him. Because in a world obsessed with more, with next, with did you get it? Cillian Murphy's greatest trait might just be that he knows exactly what to let go of and doesn't look back. Fade out. Soft instrumental swells. The sea fades into blackness. Maybe that's the real Odyssey, knowing the roles that are yours to walk and watching the rest drift away without regret. There's something sacred about not wanting what isn't meant for you. It's the kind of lesson that doesn't get taught in acting classes. It's rarely talked about at press junkets. It doesn't trend, but it shows up in the choices. In the pauses between what we hear and what we feel. Cillian Murphy understands that better than most. And in that one-word answer, no, he gave us something far deeper than a soundbite. He gave us a philosophy, because in that moment, he wasn't just answering a question about the Odyssey. He was dismantling the very question itself. FOMO, the fear of missing out, is a condition born from the illusion that we're behind, that something better is happening elsewhere, and we're not chosen for it. But in Murphy's eyes, there is no missing out when you trust yourself. And maybe that's because he's done the inner work. He's listened to the voice that says, "Not every mountain is mine to climb, especially if the view isn't worth the wounds." He didn't just shrug off the Odyssey, he blessed it. And that's rare, because let's be honest, a role like that, a project like that, it's career-making. It's the kind of offer that agents fight for behind closed doors. It's the kind of role most actors would dream of getting, or spend years resenting for not getting. But Cillian didn't touch it with longing, he touched it with grace. And maybe that's the difference between being successful and being fulfilled. Cut to archival footage, young Cillian Murphy at a film premiere. Eyes down, long hair, hands clenched in his pockets, uninterested in the flash, always resisting smile-on-cue energy. Then back to him more recently. Leaner, older, a man carved by stories, rather than chased by them. He once said in an interview, "Acting for me, it's not about collecting things. It's about distilling them. I don't want to play everything. I want to play what changes me." Let that sink in. He's not here to win the race. He's here to feel the run. And that instinct, that inner compass, has brought him exactly where he needs to be, in Oppenheimer. He wasn't just leading a Nolan film. He was carrying history on his bones. A cerebral, haunted man becomes a statement on modern humanity. People didn't just see a biopic, they saw vulnerability, weaponized by intellect. And the Academy agreed. So if Murphy had been cast in the Odyssey, what would we have missed? Maybe we wouldn't have gotten Oppenheimer. Maybe we wouldn't have gotten the same worn-down man staring into atomic fire. asking himself if invention is its own form of guilt. Sometimes, by saying no, you open the door to a better yes, and that's the quiet truth that hides in every road not taken. More visuals fade in. A close-up of Cillian on set between takes. Sitting still, lost in thought, script rolled in his hands. Other actors around him talking or laughing, he's just present, silent. Still, he once told a friend. After declining a major project just because, something as epic doesn't mean it's mine. That's the kind of sentence you write on calming wood panels and hang above a fireplace. But for Cillian Murphy, it's not an aesthetic. It's a lifestyle you won't find him chasing. Blockbusters on Marvel timelines. You won't catch him baiting a franchise or leveraging a role for more screen time. That's not how he moves. He moves like a man who's walked through fire, who knows enough to step away from heat unless he's meant to carry it. And maybe that's the most Odyssean thing of all. The hero of Homer's tale doesn't just battle monsters. He resists temptation. He survives by knowing what's his to fight and what's his to leave behind. Cillian, in his own quiet rebellion, lives that truth. There's a reason why his performances haunt you hours after the screen goes black. A reason his roles don't just entertain. They resonate. It's not talent alone, it's discernment. Knowing when to speak and when to hold them silence. So when you see the headlines crafted for clicks, Murphy passed on epic role, fancast denied. Murphy misses the boat. Forget the noise and remember the man who looked a massive opportunity in the eye and whispered, "That one's not mine." In doing that, he taught a lesson the industry rarely shares. A lesson to creators, dreamers, professionals, and people who, every day, are faced with the temptation to stretch themselves too thin for the illusion of more. That sometimes, enough is everything. And sometimes you don't have to chase the Odyssey, because by being exactly where you are, saying no to the noise, honoring the rhythm of your own steps, you already made it home.